Samoa and Fiji, folks, this weekend, second game in as many weeks. Both these sides coming off good wins last week. Samoa away to Japan, and Fiji managed to get a good win over Tonga. We'll go through the lineups, the recent results between these sides, and some predictions. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how this one may be going to go. Recent history is well and truly with Fiji, but the most recent game is this one win. So the last 5 games, Fiji have had 4. The most recent one, though, in last year's Pacific Nations Cup, 23-20. The Samoans managed to get an away win over in Lautoka. A little bit unexpected because the Fijians were kind of big-time favourites for that one. But Fiji's got a new coach since then, so it's a wee bit different. The Samoan side for this one has also got a bunch of guys in their first game. Likewise, the Fijians, to be fair. For Samoa, they are at home. It is at Apia Park. Remember, they are backing up after a 2-point win over the Japanese last week. They've kept things kind of stable, but I guess it makes sense before a Rugby World Cup to try and blood some of the new guys. So Lei is still there at loosehead. Nuia is up from the bench at hooker, and then Aloamili is there at number 3, but he's not captain this week, so he's kind of been relieved of those duties by Fritz Lee, who's back in. Chris Vui is one of the kind of big name guys that we were waiting to see kind of come back into the Samoan squad, so it's a great guy to have back. And then Talani Siu moves into the second row from the back row after a good shift he had against the Japanese last week. So it's a kind of all new lock and duo. And then former All Black Stephen Luatua, he's there at number 6 as well. So he's another kind of genuine line-out option as well. So hopefully that's an area they can improve on, because despite the kind of feel-good factor of last week's good win, the line-out had some big-time problems, and you got to feel like that's not something you can kind of sustain if you're going to have any success kind of going forward. Jack Lamb's in there at 7, and Fritz Lee is there at number 8. So it's an all-new back row, and as I said, a kind of changed second row as well. So yeah, they've not been afraid to mix things up a bit. In the backs, Inari and Liliafano, that's your 9-10 combo. So that's an all Moana Pacifica 9-10 combo, and Liliafano kicked really well last week. Certainly those points he got from the boot helped get them that win, so they'll be looking to kind of continue that chemistry. Duncan Paia'awa and Stacey Ely are 12 and 13. Where's Stacey Ely been at? Was playing for the Rebels. I feel like we didn't see him last year. But yeah, him and Paia'awa, that's a new midfield, although Paia'awa continues on from last week. And then wings, Manu and Wong, plus Danny Tawala there at fullback. Tamua Manu was on fire last week, so he'll be looking to kind of continue some of that good form as well. For the replacements, you've got Malolo coming in at number 16. We've seen him playing in the MLR, and he's looked pretty good. Titi Lamositele is there at 17. Remember, he's a former American international. That's a bit of a switch. Like we've seen a bunch of New Zealand guys, sign for internationally for like Tonga and Samoa, and even Fiji as well. And there's been other kind of guys shifting teams, but America to Samoa, that's certainly a first. I guess the fact that the Americans didn't make the World Cup is potentially a factor in that. Maybe he just wanted to represent Samoa. Charlie Faumuina, speaking of guys who've had a switch of allegiance, he's another one there. So it's a changed front row as well. Lamositele and Malolo will be getting their debuts for Samoa, and Charlie Faumuina just his second game. Otherwise, we've got backs. Ed Fido is still there. Liuia is still there, into the squad, sorry. And then Matavao is there too. There was a bit of talk about Lima Sopoaga potentially coming into the Samoa squad as well, but apparently, because he's off to Japan, there's been issues with him getting a visa to move from France to Japan with his family, so he needs to get that sorted before he can join up with the Samoan squad. So I mean, that just gives Liliafano a bit more time in the 10 jersey, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I hope they go with whoever's the form guy, and potentially the guy who's managed to get a bit of cohesion, which would give Liliafano the early running. But once Sopoaga is back, he'll be certainly putting his hand up as well. For Fiji, goodness gracious me, it has a big time Fijian Drua feel about it. Is it like 11 of the guys in the starting 15 play for the Drua? It's a lot, man. You've still got Maui there, who was on the bench last week. He gets a start. Ikanaveri is one of your Drua guys. He's up from the bench to get a start as well. And then Tangi is there at number 3. So the front row replacements from last week are the starting guys this week. Tirikita Veta is into the starting second row alongside Nasila Sila. So it's another couple of Drua guys. Darren Langi is another Drua guy who's going to get his 15s debut for Fiji. We know that he is an absolute athlete, and if you give him any space, you'll be in big time trouble. Like I look at the Samoan back row, Jack Lamb, Fritz Lee, and Stephen Lutua, great players. None of them that young though, so if you give Darren Langi any space, he'll be gone. And Mitamita is there as well on his Fijian debut. So goodness gracious me. And then Vili Mata is there at number 8. He's probably the senior guy of the 3, and his offloading game is going to be one to keep an eye on. Started from the bench last week, so good to see him back in the number 8 jersey. Kurivoli, another Drua guy. He is your number 9 this week alongside Caleb Muntz, so it's a Drua connection. And Muntz, he's never that flash, but he was consistently pretty good last week. So that's encouraging. Maybe he is the answer to the questions at 10. I don't know. We'll have to kind of wait and see. One game is very much too early to say. But he's got Semi Radradra at the number 12 jersey outside him. So that's a bit of welcome news. Radradra is captain this week too. He played from the bench last week. So he's one of the kind of non-Drua guys in the squad. But he's got Masi outside him. He's another Drua player. And then a couple of Drua players on the wings in Ravovo and Ratu Mavada. Ratu Mavada switches wings and Ravovo is into the side. Ratu Mavada last week, man, he was on fire as well. Really, really slick. So we'll see what he can do from the last wing. And then Droa Sese is getting his debut at fullback. So, man, there's a bunch of new caps for Fiji. But as I said, the fact that so many of these guys play for the Drua will certainly help with their kind of cohesion levels. We saw what the Hawares were able to do back when that was a kind of de facto Argentina squad. But then at the World Cup, they did kind of poorly, but it was a different coach. You know, the Hawares coach and the Pumas coach were different guys, whereas Simon Raiwalui is involved with both. So, I mean, he's the coach of Fiji and he's been involved with the Drua. So, fingers crossed they're able to kind of keep some of that connection from the Drua through to the Flying Fijians. Tokitama comes in. Ravai is down to the bench, and Tawake, those are your front row replacements. Josepha Tamani is getting his debut from the bench. Kamikamitha is there on the bench as well. He comes into the 23. Matawalu is there. Potitu is there, and Tui Silva drops to the bench. I feel like if you're a Samoan player, you'd be happy Tui Silva's on the bench, but he may just replace Radradra. So Radradra replaced by Tui Silva. That's pretty brutal, either way you look at it. I mentioned the recent history between these sides is pretty lopsided in Fiji's favour. Average score, though, across the last 5 games is 24-16, although that does go back to a Pacific Nations Cup game from 2016. So they play each other basically once a year. And Fiji, in most of those Pacific Nations Cup games, have gotten the result, barring that one last year. For the bookies, though, they are saying Samoa. They are saying Samoa by 2 points. I guess the addition of guys like Chris Vui, Steve Luatua, Fritz Lee, having these guys back in is maybe going to give them a bit of a boost. And with Fiji picking a bunch of debutants, maybe less fancied, the Rugby Forecast algorithm likewise goes with Samoa by 2. So picking home advantage to be maybe a deciding factor. Of the last 5, most of those games are played in Fiji. Only one was played in Samoa. So they tend to play in Fiji a lot more. It is on Apia Park. 3 o'clock is the local time. Now, if you guys are in New Zealand, this game is on free. It's on TVNZ. Oh my goodness, free rugby on TV. I'm blown away. It's on, I think, 2 o'clock here in New Zealand on Saturday. So keep your afternoon free. Watch some test match rugby. If it's not on in your area, VPN into TVNZ on demand. It is a free TVNZ Plus. Sorry, it's a free service here in New Zealand. If you don't have a VPN, use ExpressVPN. That's the one that I use. I'll put a link down in the description. Remember, the Rugby World Cup is going to be on ITV, which is free. So you can always use your VPN for that one. So just maybe get in early, but yeah, should be a pretty interesting one. You guys let us know your thoughts. Do you reckon Fiji, who generally get the job done, or do you think Samoa at home, with the addition of some kind of big gun players, will be too good? Samoa are the higher ranked side at the moment in the world rankings. But anyway, you guys let us know your thoughts. And yes, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Yeah.